My name is Troy Pangilinan, head coach and founder of Rain City Athletics Boxing, Seattle, Washington, located right now in the heart of Columbia City, Hillman City, if you really want to get specific. Been doing this since about, 2011. Long road to get where we're at, road's still going. But yeah, just coaching, helping kids, trying to stay active in the community. Team actually didn't even start as a boxing team originally. Kind of fell into coaching. Wasn't even something that I planned to do. We started out as a MMA team originally because when I started coaching, it was at an MMA gym in Shoreline. And I was training there and just kind of fell into the coaching spot. I kind of got elected into it. Branched out with my former business partner, and we did the MMA thing for a couple of years, and then that kind of got phased out, and he went his own way, and I decided to just stick with what I'm good at and what I know, which is boxing, and been doing that ever since. Had a few different locations since we branched out on the boxing end of things, but yeah, just trying to keep things pushing. So like every other kid, especially every Filipino kid, watching Bruce Lee movies with my family. Sitting at your house watching Enter the Dragon, kicking the crap out of one another as kids. But yeah, just martial arts culture, movies, especially within the Filipino context, it just permeates the culture. And it's something I don't ever remember not having around me. And started out training like traditional martial arts as a kid. Got disqualified in enough tournaments that I started doing boxing where that wasn't as much of an issue. But yeah, fascination with martial arts, martial culture, especially within the Philippines, has been huge. Something that has really helped me to connect with my culture as a Filipino American kid, with understanding like where I fit into that has been huge. A lot of the people who trained me and brought me up within my boxing and my martial arts background have been the older generation Filipinos, the model generation. So, yeah, it's been something that's become so much a part of me that I really can't separate it from myself. I started training formally, if you want to call it that, here in Seattle, Chinatown International District area with the Seattle Kung Fu Club with Sifu John Leong. I was there for a bunch of years training. That's where a lot of my foundational skills come from. Real hard training there, real traditional, real strict. After that, I branched out into what a lot of people call modern Wing Chun, so modern Chinese style of martial art with Sifu James Gilmore up on Capitol Hill. And that's, I think, the place where I really began to open my eyes to the different ways that martial arts are the same in the way that, as much as they are different. And it really opened my mind to how I can apply what I've learned in a more active and live situation. Because a lot of times when you do traditional martial arts, you live in this realm of theory and someone throws a posed attack at you and you counter with something that's preset and it's expected. But training up there with Sifu Gilmore, everything was lifetime. Try to be as realistic as you can. I definitely got a lot more bumps and bruises up there, but it was there that I got introduced to boxing, in its more pure form, by Mano Peter Bacho. He was training there at the gym and just pulled me aside one day and literally told me, he's like, hey, if you want to stop being a waste of space and wasting your time, why don't you come back here on this day and this time and learn how to box? And, I was a young punk kid at that time, and I was, what's this whole guy talking about? And I decided I'd show up, and I got my butt handed to me by a bunch of old men. And I decided, I was like, okay, there's really something to this, and I really need to start delving more into this and to see how this, it is something that I can add to my skill set. So trained a long time with him, and a bunch of other guys there. And that's kind of where that's really where my boxing really started from. Started competing, competed all through college. And then after college, took a real long break. Didn't really do anything with boxing. There was some like staffing changes with my coaches back then, and kind of just fell to the wayside. It was then that I started looking into other things. Like I was doing a lot of Filipino martial arts with Sifu Gilmore up there. So digging into that, and then that's kind of where I kind of took a divergent route, which is into something that was completely like the antithesis of what I did with my boxing, which was capoeira. And I got to be really exposed to more a deeper understanding of movement, aside from just like striking, and from a combative standpoint, learning to understand movement is what in terms of like the way the human body can move through space, and understanding of the rhythms and tempo and timing was huge. I did capoeira for a long time, and then found my way back into boxing about 2011. I started coaching. Actually, about 2010 is when I started coaching. I was still coaching in Shoreline, and I started realizing how much of all the other things that I did in martial arts began to really flavor the way my boxing worked, where I was using a lot of angles and a lot of positions that you wouldn't normally find in more traditional boxing training scenario. And I think it's been really beneficial for my fighters. A lot of coaches have said that, the RCA guys have a real different look to them. Like you can really tell who my guys are when you see them. So it's been a long road. It's still evolving. I'm a consummate student. I'm constantly watching film, constantly watching things that are outside of boxing, to try and get a better understanding, again, of movement. Because really, all martial arts, all combat arts is just movement, and understanding how to control space, and letting your attacks and your counters and your defense be a byproduct of your spatial awareness. When I started training Filipino martial arts at FMA, it was kind of like a side thing that I did. We did it at the school. I started out doing like Doce Pares and Lukai JKD stuff, and it wasn't anything that I was super invested in. But it was something just to add to my skill set, to help my reaction time, to give me a better understanding of things outside of hand-to-hand, empty hand striking. But in the recent years, I started training more heavily in Philippine martial arts. So got connected with the Seattle Balintawak crew under Guru John Soriano. And we train in Taboada Balintawak, which is a really amazing system. In a lot of ways, it's kind of tailor-made for me. You'll hear a lot of people who train Balintawak, especially the Taboada system, say that it's really just boxing with the stick in your hand. So it's been something that I've gotten blessed to progress through the curriculum. Kind of been really had much of a chance to train lately with the pandemic and everything going on. So, but up until then, it was something that I've been really heavily training in, and it's been great. It's very similar to the way I train my fighters, but it's also been able to give me the other side of the coin that I'm doing, and it's been amazing. It's helped me get in touch deeper ways within my own culture, within my own understanding of it, as well as helping me to, not only to a lot of my fighters, pass it on to them. Because there's a lot of folks who don't know that a lot of what you see today in modern boxing is flavored by Philippine culture. So the way it's explained to me by the older generation is that when the Americans initially got to the Philippines, they had bases out there, and they were having boxing competitions out there on the base and stuff like that. Within the troops there, they started inviting Filipino people to come out, because Filipinos have a very deep martial culture, very deep combat culture, which a lot of Americans weren't aware of. And at that time, you were seeing the the type of boxing that was more the old style with people, with their hands up and, really high in front of themselves. And they started bringing the Filipinos to compete. And what they didn't realize that the Philippine culture has a very deep knife culture. Bladed arts are the signature of Philippine martial arts. So within that, you see a very different stance. It's not as wide open stance, it's more compact. Hands are tight because you extend arm, you're going to get cut. So a lot of the stances you see today, a lot of the footwork you see today is unknowingly to a lot of people influenced by Philippine martial culture, which has been pretty amazing. Like I said, it wasn't really anything that pushed me. I was going through a pretty rough time in my life at that point, and I literally just was walking to the bus stop one day and realized that there's a fight gym right behind the apartment I'm living at. And I was like, hey, at that point, I hadn't been boxing or really training for a bunch of years. I was like, why don't I just start doing that as a way to help, clear my head, keep myself focused and recentered. And I was training there, really enjoying what I was doing. It wasn't really boxing as much. Like there was boxing classes, but it was an MMA gym, so there was a lot of kickboxing and grappling involved there. And I just literally fell into it. I was at an event one day, and they out of nowhere announced, like, hey, everyone, our new boxing coach. And I was like, oh, I'm looking around like, who are they talking about? And the next thing I know, people are looking at me, and I'm like, oh, I guess it's me. And I just jumped straight into it. It was a situation where I wasn't really like, it wasn't any conversation involved in it. It was just like, hey, you're coaching. And I was like, okay, hey, cool. So I just really dove into it and tried to like recall all the things that I was taught. Because what's tough is when you've been boxing a long time and you're not, really training with the idea of teaching, a lot of what you do becomes things that you can't verbally express to people, which was really very difficult. Like I had to basically reverse engineer everything that I had been taught and everything that my body had digested and I had made it part of myself, and be able to put it in terms that people could understand and that I could like transmit in a manner where it would be something that I could build into, like, say, a drill. So fell into that. And then coaching is something I really began to enjoy watching the lights go on in people's heads. Like when you get a guy or a woman who had never thrown a punch in their life, and they come in and they're super timid and they're, intimidated by it, because most folks realize going to any gym, especially a fight gym, is an intimidating thing. And then to see their confidence build and to see their body awareness grow it's an amazing thing. And it's gotten even better now being able to coach youth and watching them grow and evolve. In fact, some of the kids that I coached are getting married now. So I've had them from the age of they were 13, and they're grown adults now. And, it's super fulfilling to have them tell me that, that there's a lot of things that I've taught them that they still carry around with them. And it's, it's the same for any athlete. There's still days where I still hear my Model Pete in my ear, telling me things, and it's things that I'm like passing on to my fighters. So, a lot of ways it's like coaching helps keep that alive. So a lot of times when you walk into boxing gyms, especially like really old style gyms, you're going to walk in and someone's going to hand you a set of gloves. Maybe they'll wrap your hands and they'll tell you, okay, go stand in front of that mirror and do these two movements, right? And they'll periodically come in and they'll correct you. And then you'll move on. You'll do that for a while. And they'll say, okay, they'll teach you one punch and they'll say, go hit this heavy bag. And again, you'll go through this routine where you're doing it by yourself, and then somebody will come in and like, don't do it that way, do it this way. Coming from a traditional martial arts background, I try to teach things in a format that I can teach it to like a class. So I'll usually I'll build a drill, and the drill is based around a concept, and then the concept builds into a skill, and then the skill builds into a tactic, and the tactic builds into your fighting set, right? So I like to think of my teaching style as like it's Legos, right? And my goal in the way that I teach my boxing is to build attributes within my fighters. I don't want to build cognitive understanding. Like, you definitely have to be smart, and your boxing IQ you have to grow your boxing IQ. But in stress situations, but then I didn't move a step back. So you want to try and build things that are reflexive. And so a lot of the ways that I teach my fighters is I take choice away. By doing that, it gives me the opportunity to build reflex action in them. So it's just like, I use this example all the time with them. It's just like grabbing a hot pan. When you grab a hot pan, you don't sit there and go, wow, that's hot. I should open my hand, and then I should drop that, and then I should step back. No, you drop the pan because you are experiencing a stimulus, and your body is reacting to stimulus, and you go straight into an action. And that's exactly what your boxing should be too. So the stimulus that you're receiving is, say, somebody's throwing a punch at your head. So your reflexive action should be to move your head. And at that point, you need to already be knowing what counter you're going to throw to that. So I don't give my boxers, say, choice in what the counter is. It's always going to be the same counter every time. We go through this. We were doing this last night in class. You slip a punch, you slip a jab. What do you do? Right hand, left hook, right hand. All right. You roll under the left hook. What do you do? Right hand, left hook, right hand. So when doing that, you're training your body to just react to stimulus instead of having to defend an attack, think about what counter you're going to throw, then throw the counter. You're doing everything in automatic set. So once that happens, then you begin to be able to be more creative, because at that point you're able to slow your mind down enough to know, okay, I just defended that. Okay, I got this option, then I have this option, and I have this option, right? So once you learn the rule, then you're able to break the rule. So you'll see a lot of my fighters, like, they're always counterpunching. They're always trying to draw people out, right? Because they want that stimulus that they can react to, right? So it's kind of a hallmark for our team, right? So you'll see a lot of the drills we do. It's real akin to, like, say, the Mayweather drills and stuff, where I'm building action out of you. I'm building attributes. So always worried about building a skill that you can use without having to think.